Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome. It's House Divided on Orange What's Live. I'm Jeff Ketchum. That's Chad Hastings. I got my Liverpool red on today just because I felt like it. And part of me just wants to go to Liverpool and take the next few weeks off and just not see anybody and just do Liverpool stuff. But that's not going to happen. We're recording today. I'm going to take a few days off later this week. Thumbs up button for that because I'm taking some days off. Subscribe to the channel. We'll have content all week long. You're not going to miss us. Don't worry. Chad and I will have content all week long, but it'll be a little different this week. So jump into the YouTube comments and leave your comments, but maybe don't leave the super chats. I don't want anybody's feelings being hurt. This isn't live. We're recording it live, but you're not watching it live.
This just in.
We're
not going to do that old famous radio thing where you do fake interviews and stuff. Catch. We're not going to do that. Okay.
I just, like I said, I literally 2 minutes ago was like, Chad, I just don't want somebody in their feelings. Because they did a $2 super chat, and then we
agree.
Couldn't play it.
We definitely agree on that part. So we're glad everybody's there. However, they're enjoying the show this week.
All right. So this is the genesis of today's show, Chad. I'm starting to become fairly defiant that Texas will win a national championship in the next 2 years. Assuming Arch Manning does start for the next 2 years, I think 2026 is really the season. I think that's the season I can look at this team and go, that team looks great. I have some questions about 2025. I have questions about everybody. But I do think Texas enters this season with as good a shot as anybody. And I think next season in 2026, they'll enter with the best shot of anybody. The question is, would I bet my life on it? Which is on the thumbnail of the video. And it's like, well, no, I wouldn't do that. But I'm curious because neither one of us have really answered the question to ourselves yet. But I am curious and I want to see this in the comments on the video. How far are you willing to go, confidence-wise? How much would you bet? Would you risk a pinky thumb? I don't know. I'm just
We did just have a show where I gave you a Ronnie Lott test for multiple championships for your teams, and you did pass on it. To be fair, you did pass on that. But I would start with either money or Ronnie Lott. If you're a Texas fan, I would start with catch. Every time we say this phrase, it's because it's different for everybody, but everybody feels it the same way. Mortgage payment. I love starting there. Everyone knows what that means to them right now. And if you paid your mortgage off, God love you, your last mortgage payment, whatever that is.
If you paid your mortgage off, the last thing in the world you ever want to do again is to pay another mortgage payment.
Exactly. But think of that amount. You remember the amount. I know you remember the amount if you're done.
I remember every mortgage payment that I've made for the last 20 years.
Right. I mean, we all know what that is. Would you bet that amount that Texas wins a natty in 25 or 26? Or if you want to go to the Ronnie Lott level, would you let them take this part of your pinky there off? Ronnie Lott, for you young kids, was in the middle of a game. They ripped his pinky up. He went to the sideline and they said, Ronnie, you're out. We're done. It needs surgery. No. And he's like, look, dude, we'd have to take your finger off, then take it off. And they literally removed his pinky from there to the end. And he went back and played. And Ronnie Lott is partially Ronnie Lott because of that.
Certifiably insane.
It was nuts, but this is Hall of Fame level dude. He was already a badass. He's already a multi-champion and all that stuff. That really adds to it. So would you go that far? Would you let him take part of your finger if you're wrong? Because that's different, Catch, than what I presented you. I presented you with, would you let him take a couple of, ends off your pinkies for all these championships? All we're saying here today is if Arch doesn't win a natty in 25 or 26, then they're going to take a little bit of your finger. If he wins one, you just get to celebrate and say you were right. That simple.
I'm not betting. I'm not so confident that I would bet an appendage.
I don't think I would either. I don't think I'm going that far.
But, man, I wouldn't do that if you asked me if I was going to refill my iced tea in the next 45 minutes. I'm pretty certain I am.
Right.
But I'm not real big on body parts. You offered me a bushload of championships.
Yeah, it was 7 different titles. I gave you 7 championships for teams you love, and you still didn't go.
And I was like, man, I like my fingers. I
Yep.
type.
I'm going to take 2.
If I lost a pinky, I don't feel like I type with my pinky, but how would that mess up one of my? I just know.
Right. And it was both. It was both. Tips of both. It was double Ronnie Lott for 7 titles. That's what it was. You didn't take
I bet
that.
a mortgage payment, though. I'm not saying I will.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if somebody said, somebody really called me out, I wouldn't take any money out of the bank. I'd sell a couple of soccer cards. Just enough to get the mortgage payment, right? Because I don't want to gamble real money. So I would sell some stuff, collect enough that I've got a mortgage payment. I'd go to Vegas and throw that down. If such a deal of Vegas has to make the offer of next 2 years, but I would be comfortable, I think, doing that.
Real quick, Catch. Let me just think a second for the situation of, boy, that would be nice if there was something in my house I could sell that would get me to a mortgage payment. I don't think it exists. Anyway, that's a nice thought, though. I like that thought. I think mine would have to be my refrigerator. I think that's what I would have to sell.
Nice refrigerator.
I think I'd have to
your refrigerator, apparently.
I think I'd have to sell my refrigerator to get started on getting there. Yeah.
You learn a lot about somebody the moment the idea of you can't use any of your own money in the bank. You have to, withdraw out of Prize Picks or whatever you got to do. What is it that you're going to get rid of to accumulate the money to make this wager? You're selling your refrigerator, which for me, I was like, my refrigerator sucks. So
hey, good.
I don't want to see Chad's fridge.
Good, bad, or otherwise. I was just trying to think of things in the house that actually are worth something. And the first thing that popped in my head, maybe it's because I see it so much, but the refrigerator, I mean, it's all right. The refrigerator, the dishwasher, I think is worth.
I will also say this is, you're either a married guy or you're a nerd. If the question comes up of what would you sell?
Yeah.
To back your confidence meter for Texas winning the national championship? If the answer is refrigerator, married.
Yes.
If you say soccer cards, definitely nerd, but maybe nerd and married. And so it's a double whammy.
Yeah. No,
when
you're
I
in a
was single, I would have been like my SL 500.
Yeah, no, I love you. You having that option is fantastic. And that's where, people would maybe think about it. Like,
I would not wager my SL 500 though back in the day.
No,
there are limits.
It wouldn't be that.
I would go up to like a $5,000 wager on Texas.
Okay.
Anything more than that, and I don't feel comfortable. I would never feel comfortable betting that much money. I once saw Sean Adams walk into my house. Mm-hmm. Rest in peace, Sean. We miss you. God, it's been too long. It's crazy to think about how long it's been.
No kidding.
He walked into my house one time to go play in a poker game in Westlake with $20,000 in his pocket. Whew. Now, Sean, because the buy-in for the game was a minimum of 20.
Dear God.
And he got this invite. He'd always wanted to play in it. I had a Christmas party that night. He shows up to my house. He's got all this money on him. And he's like freaked out that he's even carrying that much money.
Yeah, I would be too.
And then he was like, I had a hard time playing cards because all I could think about was my wife is going to divorce me because I took $20,000 out of the bank account and I'm playing poker with it. Mm-hmm. I kind of feel the same way. It's not about the amount of the money. It's about the amount of the money that you're using silly.
Yeah. No, that's fair. By the way, speaking of poker, don't forget about Hijack Poker. Hijackpoker.com. You can get that app on any device you want and play some online poker. Play online. So it's a little safer in terms of you feel like you're not staying with the money and people are staring at you. You're in the state of Texas. You can play Hijack Poker. Check them out. Hijackpoker.com. Cash out at one of those 6 Texas Card House locations. You can deposit there. You can also deposit in all kinds of different easy ways. Check them out. Hijackpoker.com. The other part of this sort of discussion for me, Catch, is nowadays, if I'm a Texas fan, I'm trying to figure out if this bet makes sense. College football now does have a real system. It's not like the old days. 10 years ago, if you say to me, guaranteed national title one of the next 2 years, we have to have a discussion. We have to have a talk about what the system really allows, because Texas fans watched a team in 2008. They were pretty badass. That was a pretty damn good football team. Should have been in a real system. There wasn't one to get in. It didn't exist. Now that it does, this is what would lean me more towards that money. And again, not the appendage. I agree with you there. But this is what would lead me more towards that, because we know it's a real system. We know 1 or even 2 losses, maybe 3, but we know 1 or 2 losses and go knock you out of this thing. And if you truly believe Arch Manning's going to be a badass and this team's going to continue to develop, then I think that's where it feels like a safer bet. But we are also talking about winning it all, not there, not just get there.
No, exactly. It's getting over the finish line.
Right. This isn't posing with the trophy. This is holding the trophy. This is the whole thing, the whole deal. Not what Mac did against Bama. This is what Mac did against USC. Finish the deal, hold the trophy, and get it done. It's a tough thing to say absolutely will happen. It is a first world problem discussion, and it makes you sound so like, I don't know, uppity if that's your team. Makes you sound like you're just bragging too much. And most Texas fans...
Who are the teams in college football that we would even include? Who's in the group of teams that their fan bases could realistically have this conversation about?
Well, I mean, you know who 2 of them are. I mean, there may only be 2.
Are there any more?
I mean, Ohio State, Georgia.
Yep. You could have, I think, a conversation with Oregon fans, because I think they're next.
Okay, maybe it's Oregon.
But I don't know that they're betting appendages.
And I don't think they are either. In 2025, Penn State's in the discussion, but those fans, if they're paying attention, they're not betting big stuff. Not on that. On winning it all, I don't know. And, same thing for Clemson fans and some others, but let's extend it to 5. Texas, the 2 that are obvious, Georgia, Ohio State, and those other 2. Let's say Oregon and maybe Penn State. Anybody else? Clemson fans can't do that, can they?
No, and I don't know that Penn State fans can either.
No.
They're not even about the next 2 years. They're just about this season.
I mean, hell, Clemson fans at least get to trust Klubnik. Penn State fans have to trust Aller and Franklin.
I don't know how willing I am to even bet money if it was just restricted to this next 6 months or 7 months. That I get the next 2 years gives Texas some grace. And I just think they're almost too talented to fail. That, there's a disaster clause that exists for every team. Because I still look at Georgia and think to myself, I don't love Carson Beck. But you don't have to twist my arm to convince me that they win the national championship over Ohio State if he doesn't get hurt. I mean, it's a game.
Yep.
It's a coin flip game. Maybe Ohio State wins that, or maybe Georgia, the state of their roster is really impressive. We saw it twice.
No doubt. Yeah, we're talking about a world where Riley Leonard played for the national title.
And I don't know going into the next year, it'll still be Ohio State and it'll still be Georgia. When we talk about Penn State will have its turnover and Clemson will have its turnover, and you'll see the turnover. Texas is really young this year. They're going to be better next year. And Ohio State and Georgia's rosters will be loaded.
Right. And for the record, Bama fans can't think that way, right? 2025? Like they like to want to, but can they?
Nah, they really can't.
Not quite there.
Not yet.
Yeah. I agree. You lose like that at Vandy and Oklahoma beat you, you probably need to take a breath.
But their roster is one of the top 5 rosters in college football.
Yeah.
So
maybe. So maybe there's 6, maybe there's 6 of them if you want to be respectful to their roster.
But I think even with an Alabama fan, it's not a question of, are you going to make the playoffs?
Right.
Are you going to make a playoff run?
Right. This would be a great test.
Because I might bet an appendage if it was in the next 2 years, Texas plays in a national championship game.
Yeah, that's different. But
that's what I win too. There's the other part of this is if I make a cash bet, I know what the bet is. If I'm betting a finger, I'm not getting a chance. This isn't the deal you made me. I'm not giving the finger up for 7. I'm confidently betting that finger that it's going to happen, but I don't know what I'm getting in return other than not losing my finger.
Yeah, right. Because I just set it up earlier as, hey, if you're right, you're right. You just get to brag about it. But we could also, we could say, hey, if you bet the mortgage, you get that money.
That's why I'm not betting body parts.
Okay.
I'm not on anything because now we're now in the realm of, well, this is just about bragging rights. Okay, well then we can bragging rights something other than my fingers or my toes.
How about this? How about the appendage is worth twice the mortgage payment? You get twice.
Yeah.
You get twice the mortgage payment if you put the finger up, pardon the expression, and then you win, you get twice the mortgage amount. If you bet the mortgage amount, you get the mortgage amount. That's the deal.
Man, look, if kidnappers grabbed you today and they held you hostage and they were like, we're going to cut off up to 5 of Chad's fingers on each day of the week, unless you come up with $5,000 for each day. So a total of $25,000. Now, Chad, you might hear that and think to yourself, oh, fuck, man, I'm not going to have a hand at the end of the week. But Wendy would try hard. She would. She wouldn't hear that number and go, nah, he'll have another one. He'll have 5 more. What's the problem? She would feel like Chad needs his hands. I want him to have his hands. She would try really hard to find a way to find people to come up with that $25,000. We'd have to hold a marathon or something. Marathon telethon. But you would want to pay that money. You'd be like, I don't know necessarily. We may have to sell the house later and maybe live on the side of the road because $25,000 is a lot of money. But I do value my fingers, all of them. What I'm telling you is, you're goddamn right. Your fingers are worth more than double the mortgage payment.
All right, that's what it sounds like. You're just working towards.
I just used you as an example because I don't want anybody to hear, oh, Ketch just admitted on YouTube that if we kidnap him, we can get at least $25,000 out of him.
Okay, so here's what we do. Based on the math you just threw out, then if you put up the appendage, we'll go full pinky. If you put full pinky up as the bet, you get 5 times the mortgage on the other side. 5
now
times.
I think now we're talking about, I think a degenerate takes that bet.
Now, do we have a man's bet? Are we there?
Not with me. I'm not betting that. But
okay, but here's where I'm going, because I would love to know what Tuscaloosa does with that. Go to the most hardcore Bama fan you could find, houndstooth all over the house, and you give them that deal. If Bama doesn't win it all, not just get there, doesn't win the championship, we will remove one of your pinky fingers. If they win a national championship in the next 2 years, you get 5 times your mortgage amount. That's the deal. I wonder if a Bama fan would take that.
I think one of the reasons why I am so bullish on Texas getting this done over the next 2 years is I just don't think there are many teams that, I mean, Jesus Christ, you threw Penn State out there. And
no, I know.
And I think it's a fair nomination.
I didn't want to, but they're in the preseason top 10, and they got the big game with Ohio State, and they were in the damn, semis last year? How far did they get? Yeah.
I get it. But that is kind of my point on this whole Texas in the next 2 years thing. That I can't, for either of the next 2 years, pick a team that I think has a better chance. You'd like to think there's no guarantee. Texas probably last year had as good of a chance as anybody. And what happened? They ran into Ohio State and just turned out to not be better in that game. Or maybe Ohio State was 5% better, and over 60 minutes, that ended up being enough. But you can see in a world where Texas has a USC in 2005, you'd go into that season, it felt like, okay, there are 2 great teams. Anybody playing with them? No, not really. This year, I don't feel a super team like that, those teams. And I don't know that there's a Michigan from 2 years ago. And I don't yet know if there is an Ohio State from last year where if you say, well, if they just play their best brand of football, nobody probably beats them. Then it's a question of, can you get that group to play its best football when it matters? And, you know, would have been some pessimism, I think, on that from the Columbus side at various points in the season, but they pulled it off. The confidence meter around Texas right now is just, they're kind of Florida State or an emerging Florida State of the 90s and the 2000s where, God, you didn't even believe in Bobby Bowden as a big game coach. You didn't believe that they would make a field goal. There were all the kinds of things about Florida State that you didn't believe in. The thing that you did believe in was that they had so much talent that they would accidentally stumble into a national championship. And they did. Yeah. And Ohio State kind of did that last year. They're proving the thing that I'm talking about right now, which is if you've got one of these super rosters that Texas, Georgia, and Ohio State have, you should, with enough opportunity, win one.
Yeah, but the key there is it's the timing, Catch, because you're right with Florida State, but their run was about finishing top 4. Well, how many titles did Bobby get? Was it 2? And he spread them out.
I'm not saying Texas is going to go on a dynasty run.
Because if you'd have made this,
I'm saying the next 2 years, I think they're going to win the championship. I don't know beyond that.
Because if you picked like 1995, somewhere in that range, and a Florida State fan made the bet we just laid out, they lose a finger. They lose the finger.
Part of me that thinks we're going to watch. These are the last 2 Steve Sarkisian years, because I think he does too much. I think he works too hard. I think he takes on too much responsibility. I think it's going to wear his ass out. And I think by the time the Arch Manning experience, you remember the end of 2009, Mac was just done.
Right.
He was done. He didn't know he was done. He wanted to believe that he could turn it off and on.
Does it feel for you like this could be headed towards arrest or headed for like NFL?
I don't know what Sark's going to do, but I really feel like he has to hand over some of the heavy lifting or the weight of this job. You and I talk about this all the time. What he was asked to do in December, along with Ryan Day and a few other coaches, has never been asked of any head coach ever. And it was asked of them at a time when they're already being asked to do things that they've never been asked to do. At some point, it just feels like, I don't know, maybe I'm projecting. Maybe it's like, I think about all the work I do, and it's like, God, if you doubled it, would I ever want to work again? No. It sounds like I'd burn out if I had to do even more than I'm already doing.
Yeah.
And I guess I look at Sark with some sympathy that he gets paid a ton of money. He's now universally respected as one of the best coaches in college football. But, man, I don't know how it's sustainable for all of these guys. And I think the one guy that we know in college football that's not in it for the long haul is Bill Belichick. But he's set the whole thing up in North Carolina in a way that if he did want it to go for the long haul, it's set up in a way that Bill's not asked to do everything the way he wanted to do everything in Boston.
Yeah.
He's like, you know what? I don't want to do all that. I'm going to bring Michael Lombardi in. And Sark's got a great support system around him, but he likes to be the guy that decides everything. And it works. I just don't know it can work forever. So I just feel like after the Arch Manning tenure ends, it's going to feel like the end of an era. And if there's ever a time to do so, that would be it. Now, I think Texas fans are freaking out when they hear me say that. But like it's in my head, I feel like I can't cover – we can't have these conversations and talk Texas football if something as important as can Steve Sarkisian maintain this for 5 more years? You know, if you have doubts about that, we need to be honest about it, because what happens is you don't talk about these things, and then they sneak up on you, and then it happens. And it's like, maybe we should have had those conversations, because then we wouldn't be in this position if we force the matter a little bit more. Sometimes you got to make players rest when they don't want to. Sometimes, look, I'm making myself take some days off this week because I can feel it in my bones, Chad, that I need a few days off.
Yep.
I don't think I took any days off last year.
I don't know that you did. I'm glad you are, because I can't speak for everybody else, but I feel bad taking days off when you're the boss. Like, it's like there are times where you don't get mean about it, but there are times where I'm thinking like, damn, dude, you really do need days off. I'm glad you're doing it this week. And that's why
I just was like thinking of Onward not having to think of work for a few days.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't even know what that feels like. And I know that's Steve Sarkisian.
Yeah. And that's what
Steve Sarkisian was a newborn in the house, by the way.
That's what Ketch is going to feel this week. He's going to take some time off. That's why you're seeing the shows the way you are this week. Remember, like, subscribe, get your notifications, jump into the comments on the shows. We'll be checking those out. And Ketch, since you're taking some days off, can I guess that Rogue Shop might be a part of your days off? Just maybe, possibly.
I'm loading up. No responsibility.
Yeah.
The kids will be in school. So while I'm not at work and the kids are at school, Jeff will bring out the tools. Rogue Shop. That didn't make any sense, but you know what I'm saying. Texas is home for legal CBD, THC, and so much more. That's anxiety. That's my wife and my mom. Sleeplessness. I got to be honest. I might have to take a gummy every night this week just to make sure. And because I'm weirdly not sleeping well lately. I don't know why. Just not. And Rogue Shop's going to help. I need to reorder. I went and had lunch with Richard last week, and I need to reemphasize the point. I'm coming, baby. I'm coming with the order. Scan that QR code. That's going to be me as soon as I'm done with this show. They'll get it like express delivered to me. I'll have it all week. It'll be the best. Check them out. Don't take my word for it. Go shopping. Check out the website. You'll have fun if nothing else.
There you go. Hope everybody's enjoying the week.
Steve Sarkisian is 51 years old, Chad.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got what? A 2-month-old in the house?
Yeah. I mean, newborn. And obviously, making as much as they do and having the lifestyle they have, they got maybe people that can help out, but still.
You still got to be dad.
You still have the newborn baby is still a newborn baby.
Hey,
and man,
my wife is a stay-at-home mom. My mom worked for us as a nanny, right? She just moved in with us to help take with twins.
Yep.
All of the up and down and it was still hard, man. Those first few years, just hard. I did the calculations in my head. I think because I had twins, everything doubled. I think I counted that I may have changed between 5,000 and 10,000 diapers.
I've never thought of counting that number, but yeah, I'm not quite at that level probably. But I can't. With you guys, yeah, you're going twice as many as I went from none to basically changing all of them right away, but I wasn't changing 2 babies. And
neither is Sark, but like I also wasn't working. I don't think I work a lot of hours. I don't think I work Sarkisian hours.
Right.
Yeah. They don't get weekends off.
Well, and that's why we're talking about this maximizing period. So what you're saying here, this is, let's say he coached 3 or 4 years past when Arch is gone. Does he have a better chance to win it than he does the next 2 years?
Oh, yeah, because he'll keep giving himself opportunities to do so.
Right. So there might be a team down the line that might even have a better opportunity than what he's got in 25 or 26.
You know what it is? I don't want people to think I'm being negative. I'm about taking care of your natural resources.
Mm-hmm.
And Sarkisian is like oil right now for us. And inside the Texas football program, he's black gold, Texas tea.
Mm.
And, taking care of a guy goes beyond paying him a bunch of money. And I think at some point, the best way to get 5 to 10 more years out of Steve Sarkisian so that he's closing Kocher to 60 than maybe 55, I think you've got to Sark, what do you need? What would make you, if you don't trust many people, who do you trust? What do we got to do? What do we got to do to take a couple of things out of your hands? And if it's a couple of things, what are the things? Because we don't necessarily think you should be handling all of the scouting in the portal at a time and making those decisions at a time when you're getting offensive game plans together in the playoffs. And right now, Sark is like, I want to give that up. And look, man, Chad, I always talk about, I know where Sark's coming from. I'm terrible at micromanaging.
No.
I don't give up responsibility easy.
Every time we talk about Sark, I feel like we need to get you the Al Franken mirror from Saturday Night Live, the Stuart Smalley. That's what we need to do every time.
I can feel it. I'm telling you, like I just felt it last week. I need a few days off.
Yeah.
Not 2 weeks in Europe. I just need a few days off. I can't remember, honestly, the last time I took days off where I wasn't working on a Sunday column or any of that kind of stuff. So, I think that I just think Sark is so single-minded, like I am in a lot of ways. Like, I'm not saying I'm like Sark. I'm just saying I think he and I have a couple of personality quirks that are similar. The thing he has that I don't have is I think the support to give him everything he needs. It's not I run on a budget that Sark actually doesn't have to run on. If he said, I'm either leaving or go hire me the best general manager in football, Texas would go do whatever it takes to go hire the best general manager in football. They would make that happen. Mm-hmm. Because you'd want to Sark's holding our feet to the fire, but we have to keep him. If Sarkisian said, dude, I'm out of here if you don't pay me $20 million a year, pay that man $20 million. Because we know how hard it is once you have it to replace it. And now that Texas has it, you don't want to lose it. And the best way to preserve that is to take every measure possible to nurture the person, who's least probably concerned about Sarkisian? Him. That I understand. There's a bunch of people watching the show right now that will get that because you put your family first. Sarkisian's got a newborn. He's got a wife who's got a newborn. And the one thing you just want to do is make sure that the people you love the most are taken care of and happiest. So you're up at 2:00 in the morning so she can sleep, so you can change that diaper. And like Sark's thinking of his players. He's thinking about all the people he's responsible for, his coaches. When you're Steve Sarkisian, you often take care of yourself last.
Yeah, it's true.
And I just feel like, man, I can see this in advance. They need to take care of him now.
All right, Kat, speaking of someone who knows about taking care of themselves last, which is what you're doing this week by taking days off. We got like 3 minutes left until you need to go be a dad.
I need to go now because my wife is not being responsive to me.
Okay, so we got to go.
She needs to leave with me in 3 minutes.
Excellent. Okay, you go be a dad, and we'll see you for the Wednesday House Divided that we'll be recording so you can have time off. So go be a dad.
Hit that thumbs up button, like the video, subscribe to the page.
There you go.
Comments in the YouTube section. Go to Specs, and by all means, Texas Card House Social or Hijack Poker, make it happen. Chad, see you in a couple hours.
All right, that's Jeff Ketchum. He's going to go be a dad. Thanks to Ketch for obviously being here and for taking days off. Thanks to Ketch for doing that. It's something that he needs to do, and he's also going to go do something he needs to do for one of his kids today. So we got that going on. Let me give Ketch an idea. Let me give all of you an idea. If you have a little time off and you're looking for some relaxation, this is one of my favorite ways to do it. Deep Eddy Vodka Tasting Room. Oh, so good. That flavored vodka, it's just my favorite flavored vodka in the world. And now there are 9 flavors. There's all these cocktails. Plus you've got the pineapple that is now out there. And I have not had a chance to get out there since they brought in pineapple. So I heard the rumor of it last time we were there, but I haven't been out there to check out those cocktails. So get on out there. If you try one of those cocktails, let me know about it. Also, go try the Crimson Creek Smokehouse Barbecue. It's on site right there at the food truck. Such a great way to pair it up with the great vodka. Make sure you do it responsibly. Get your DD, get your rideshare set up. Make sure the spring weather treats you right. And there's a couple really hot days coming this week. Maybe don't pick the 2 hot days, I think, they're not even open. Thursdays through Sundays. I think it's going to be good by the weekend. Thursday, 12 to 7. Friday and Saturday, 11 to 7. Sunday, 12 to 5 in terms of the Deep Eddy Vodka Tasting Room. So get on out there and check them out. Again, thank you guys for dealing with the shows this way this week. You'll see that from time to time on Orange Bloods Live. We're throwing content out to you. Want to make sure that content's out there. A lot of you enjoy the shows more not live. A lot of you get the shows once they've been posted. So, you will not think of it any differently unless maybe, and I guess if you're watching later, you're not jumping into super chats live. Those of you that do like to chat and super chat with us live, it'll be a little different this week. So hopefully next week you'll appreciate it and you'll all show up with like $100 super chats. It'll be fantastic. I can't wait. Can't wait for that to happen next week. All right, let's hear from Specs. Speaking of the Deep Eddy vodka, if you are out of Deep Eddy vodka, Specs has got it for you. Here comes the jingle.
It's time to celebrate. Over 10,000 wines to appreciate. 300 beers, savings and cheers. Let's raise a glass to the next 50 years.
Specs, wine, spirits, and finer foods. World-class service, that's all about you. Shop Specs!
It's how we do. A huge selection since 62.
Shop Specs!
Low priced, amazing. Here's to you.
All right, we got to check with the Specs people. I don't know what the woman's name is that does that incredible turn take at about halfway through, but chef's kiss. Wow, it's fantastic. Fantastic. Well done. Shout out to Specs. Get stocked up when you get the opportunity. We're talking about what you'd give up today. Would you bet your life Texas wins the national title in the next couple years? Just let that marinate. Let that simmer in your brain. I'm really confident Texas makes the playoff in these next 2 years. That I'd bet. Certainly. Makes both playoffs? Oh, yeah. Makes both Final Fours. I think I'd do that for sure. Maybe even makes a title game in the next couple of years. But to guarantee you're going to win all of it for sure? Whoo, man. I think if I'm a Texas fan, if I'm getting involved in these bets, can I watch the game in Columbus first? Maybe. I don't know if that's a fair assessment, but it kind of something I would want to do. All right. Before I wrap it up here, let's thank another one of our great partners, and it is Sinus and Snoring Specialist. Last night, I was laying in bed. I was having a little trouble getting to sleep at first. I just had a lot of things on my mind. I was trying to get kind of calmed down. And then I stopped and I realized, oh, wow, I hear the white noise machine. I hear the fan, but I did not hear my wife's CPAP machine because they are so quiet now. A lot of people hear that CPAP and they think, it's loud, it's bulky, it's all these things. She loves the thing. Now, it took a little bit. She had to get into it. She had to really commit herself to it. But once she did, she absolutely loves it. She can't do without it. Wouldn't want to do without it. We're going to go on a cruise here in a couple weeks, and she's going to have it with her. She takes it with her. You let the cruise know that you need to see that you got a CPAP, and they'll make sure that distilled water is brought to your room. So we're doing that later on. When you travel, you want to make sure you're sleeping better. Whatever your situation is, it might be a CPAP. It might not be, because mine's not. I don't sleep with a CPAP every night. I've got a dental device that I wear that helps with the grinding, but also helps with the jaw placement and all that. There's all this cool technical stuff they can get into with Sinus and Snoring Specialist, ear, nose, and throat, the very latest options other places just don't have. This place is the best. 601-0303. Text them or call them securely there, or go to sinussnoringent.com. Sinus and Snoring Specialist. Feel clear, rested, and healthy. We appreciate you guys jumping in. Check out all the content at Orange Bloods Live. Like, subscribe, get your notifications. Thank you for getting us over 25,000 subscribers. We're working our way towards 8 million. Thank you for helping us get over 15 million views. I've never set a goal for that one. How about 50 million? We maybe make that the goal, and then we'll see what the next goal can be after that. Thank you guys so much for supporting us and allowing us to do this every day. And again, thank you for understanding that this week Cash needs to take a couple of days off. So we're going to present, but we still get content to you, right? That's how hardworking Catch is. He didn't just say, I'm just going to take off, so Chad, you deal with it. Nope. We're going to make sure we record shows for each day that you would expect a house divided. Damn it, you're going to get a house divided. So there you have it. Maybe we forgo like buy or sell this week. We'll see how that goes. But we will get you some good content this week, we hope. And we appreciate you checking it out. Remember, Football with Friends at 6 o'clock this evening. And Anwar's got the old-fashioned for you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Tomorrow, if you're watching this on Monday, then Tuesday of this week, we will have your normal modcast, live modcast at noon. We'll pack the guys in, get you some Texas football information there. Texas got a recruit in the 26 class. Jason and I will have the recruiting hour on Wednesday. A lot of stuff going on as always. Thank y'all for checking it out. Like, subscribe, get your notifications. This is Orange Bloods Live. See ya.